And we're back, and as I promised you, we have Jackie Soffer with us. Let me tell you a little about Jackie Soffer, and I'm not going to tell her too much because she's going to tell you herself. But you probably have all heard about the Soffer family. We have the Soffer High School, Don Soffer High School. We have the Aventura Mall. We have Turnberry Country Club. Theoretically, the Soffer family built Aventura over the years. And I thought with all the questions we're getting about what's going on in the city, but more importantly what's going on with the mall and what's going on with issues of that sort, whether the stores are open, they're not, Black Friday, who better to ask than the owner of the mall? So I welcome you, Jackie. It's great having you with us.
Thank you.
We've known each other for a while. But I think the first thing people would love to hear is just a little bit about what it was like growing up in a family that built a city. Because your dad is a colorful character.
First of all, yeah, he's definitely a colorful character. But when you talk about, the what the Soffer family, my dad is one of the things that he's most proud of that you forgot to mention is the circle, is the bike path.
Yes.
Because that was something that he really wanted, and at the time when he started and asked for it to be done, there was a little bit of a fight for it because some people thought, well, if you put in a path around the city, then we're going to get people that are going to come. We're going to have too many people coming in, and it actually turned out to be something wonderful. So he's very proud of that.
Very.
But your question was, what was it like growing up in a family with
that?
Well,
And what did you learn from it? Obviously, this must have been an exciting experience of knowledge for you.
Yeah, well, looking back on it as an adult, right? So I now realize what I learned as a young girl and what I was exposed to. And the value of that. So just watching Aventura grow from what was once swampland, and then, the phasing of it, where my father first decided I'm going to do a golf course, and if I do a golf course in the center, then we build high rises. The residents will either have views of the ocean or the water, or they'll have views of the golf course. So that was really done for the sense of community and for he really understood the importance of views. And so he started with the club and the golf course, and then of course built the residential around it. Had always planned on building the mall. The mall didn't get built. It was one of the later phases. It was built in 1983. And it was just, looking back on it, there was a lot that I learned about real estate and development as a young child.
Oh, it's amazing because, as a commissioner, we work together on some of the projects that the Soffer family does. And it's just amazing. It just keeps growing, and it's more amazing and more. It's like you have new buildings and such that are planned for the future coming in now. But I guess what people want to know about the most is the mall, and obviously the fact that Aventura Mall is probably one of the most prominent, successful malls in the country. Yes. And yet now COVID comes along. It almost destroys retail business as we know it. And yet you've weathered it, and it's still open. And yes. I guess the question, in some manner, how do you deal with this in a mall of that size?
COVID?
Yeah.
So, well, obviously we had to close for 2 months. So we were closed for 2 months. None of us knew how long the pandemic was going to last. None of us still know how long it's going to last. Although, in the past couple of weeks, they've announced 3 different companies have vaccines. And there is very rarely, I think, people who have had the virus are getting reinfected. So hopefully, there'll be some sort of herd immunity between vaccinations and people who are already carrying the antibodies. But we didn't know how long this was going to last. And of course, tenants didn't know. And from a nationwide perspective, there's a lot of shopping. There are a lot of stores. And there's a lot of talk about shopping centers being in trouble, but mostly a lot of retailers that had problems and had to file for bankruptcies. That affected us to some degree here. We're fortunate in Aventura where we have a lot of tenants that are waiting to come in. So we moved really quickly, and through this pandemic, we've signed over 32 leases.
Really?
We've opened a lot of new stores. We have a lot of stores under construction. We have our mezz under construction, which is a big deal for us. We've opened Ornos, a Greek restaurant, opened
Which, by
recently.
the way, is
right?
amazing.
It's amazing, right?
Amazing, yes.
People love it. We opened Pani. Have you been to Pani?
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
I had lunch with you there.
That's
yes.
right. So Pani has been very, very well received. If you go there on the weekends, it's a wait. So we have like an hour wait. They quoted us last weekend. My mother wasn't really happy about that. But so so we've opened some new restaurants. We have more opening. We have had some closures. The Grill on the Alley closed.
Yeah.
The Grand Lux closed. Grill in the Alley, we signed a lease for a tenant called Sugar Factory. Grand Lux, we have a lot of prospects for that space, and it's really a situation where, yeah, it's a great space. So, and then we have, we signed a lease with the tenant, Pollo Yaros, which is a very popular chicken, it's also Peruvian concept. That does very well in this market, and we think they're going to be very successful there as well.
You told me something that I was absolutely amazed about at lunch the other day, and you said the most popular stores right now in the mall are the upper end stores.
Yes.
That is interesting to me because I would have thought it would be exactly the opposite.
The luxury stores.
Yes, but
if you go to the mall, you'll see the lines. I mean, we have stanchions in front of Gucci, in front of Louis Vuitton, Givenchy, Fendi, Tory Burch. Obviously, Zara's not luxury, but they always have a line. Foot Locker
that's amazing.
has often had lines. We have certain stores that MCM has lines. Yeah, there's, for whatever reason, that's where the demand is.
Do you think it's because people, those type of items, they don't want to buy online, they want to touch and feel it and walk in the store and actually see the item?
I think that's a part of it. Luxury sales, a lot of purchasing luxury is about the experience. Right? So I really believe that, there is a market for online purchasing, but there's also a market for brick and mortar. So if you look at a business like Amazon, or you look at some of these other, Warby Parker, these are both direct to consumer brands, right? Mm-hmm. Or Amazon is, online brand. They're all building brick and mortar right now because they know that the only way to really give customers the full experience of their brand, and brand awareness is so important, is to build a brick and mortar store and to fully, encapsulate someone within their brand. So when you walk in an Apple store, for example, an Apple, Apple could do, they don't have to spend what they spend on brick and mortar. But if you look at what we have at Aventura, where we have a Norman Foster, beautiful, I mean, that building is a masterpiece in architecture. Norman Foster is probably the most well-respected architect of our time. They spent a fortune building that, because you go in there and you get the real experience of what their brand is, mm-hmm. right? So if you look even at, Warby Parker is the same thing. If you look at the old days of the Abercrombie stores, for example,
right.
Like when you think of Abercrombie and Fitch, they did a really good job executing at the time, for that moment in time, of what that generation wanted to purchase, that time of what Abercrombie was. If you entered their store, you were encapsulated in an environment that was like, it was dark, it was like a nightclub, they had good-looking salespeople, they had the scent in the air, they had the music, they had, you go in that store and you feel their brand and people want to be a part of their brand and they purchase, right? So a lot of it, you go to a luxury store, you go to Louis Vuitton, you go to Fendi, you go to Givenchy, you experience their brand, whether it's their salespeople, whether it's the scent, whether it's the build out of the store, whether it's how they treat you. They're beautiful environments to spend time in, and I think that's a lot of what the retailers, want to do and will be doing in the future.
So I guess, obviously, when you own a mall like this, it's not just a mall, it's actually people in stores and dealing with the public and how you market to them. But you've been diversified in that mall. It's amazing because you have everything from middle America to the highest end. Mm-hmm. Before a store comes in there, what kind of due diligence do you do to make sure it's the kind of store you want, and how do you fit them into the puzzle, so to speak? Because I always wondered, there's so many names. I walk around the mall and I never heard of some of these names, and yet they're amazing products. How do you hear about all this?
So, I mean, a lot of it we travel to go see. We travel and we go see the stores. Like Connie came from Argentina. It's the first store in the United States. We went to Argentina to visit the space, to visit the tenant and to see it. And we also look, when we go to a market, we look for other tenants within that market. we do our due diligence. I mean, it's important. We do our due
That's what I'm
diligence.
saying,
And
sure.
it's not just due diligence about their financials. Mostly it's about the brand and, which way, who the customer is of the brand, and if we think it fits with our customer base as well.
Do you
So-
find that there's much, I mean, obviously there's competition, but if you have a Givenchy or you have a Chanel or you have, that they have a problem with they want exclusivity or they have a problem with other stores of the type going into the mall?
Not really. We don't really run into that problem. We don't run into the problem where they want exclusivity. I think they do realize, most of them, it's actually the opposite. So
Oh.
luxury wants to be around luxury. So they want to be there. If they know you have X, X, and X, then they want to be there. If you don't have the other luxury tenants that are their competitors, they don't want to be there. They want to be with their competitors because they know that their customer is not just going to come to go to their store, that they want to be able to cross shop, right? So
Yeah,
cross shopping is
Sure.
is important, right? So
So you said, and it's interesting because we get so many calls, what stores are open, what isn't, but you said that your biggest anchor right now is Apple, or it's one of the strongest stores you have in the mall.
yes.
What is happening with Apple? Are they going to be opening soon? I know it's right now appointment only to pick up things,
Right.
but are they opening more space, I heard, in the mall, or adding to it?
So
If you
we
can.
don't know. We don't know what they are going to do and when they are going to open. They're a California company. They are running their own numbers as far as COVID is concerned, and their manager and the powers to be in California are the ones that are making the decisions. So they have planned to open and then haven't opened. It's all about COVID.
Mm-hmm.
They are, if you order online, you can go pick up at the property.
Yes, that I heard.
But it depends on what happens with the pandemic. So,
Yeah, it's interesting because my son works with Apple, and your store in that mall is one of the top 3 in the world as far as the success of a store. And it's amazing when you think about all the locations they have. California is not on the top 3. I think New York is 1, but your store is number 2. And it shows you the market of this area, I guess, is between international and the local. That it's
Right.
amazing what they do there.
and what they gave us, I mean, because we were such a top store for them, what they built for us and what we opened last
Yeah.
year
Oh, it's gorgeous.
is just incredible. So
It is.
it's just we haven't had enough time to experience it because of COVID.
So
But-
the questions we're getting are, the mall is open. Are most of the stores open right now in the mall? Because I know people are
think
coming.
I would say all of our stores are, not all of our stores are open on a daily basis. Sometimes stores are not open because if someone thinks they were exposed to COVID in the store,
Oh, they
or if
close.
someone, then they'll close early. I mean, the stores have their own policies, but we are pretty much 100% open, except for Apple.
Yeah,
I mean, we have stores that are under construction, obviously. We have our normal turn of vacancy, and through COVID, we've obviously had some more vacancy where we've had turn, but for the holiday, we're full.
well, it's interesting because we get these calls, and I guess it is a fluid situation right now with what's open, what isn't open. But it's amazing how the mall is a destination. It's not just you go shopping. People come down here, they want to live around shopping like that. And it's tremendous that's a bigger draw than a golf course might be or a country club or whatever. People come to shop.
Well, it's about experience, and it's also about socialization. Like, I think all of us look at what happened through COVID, and, I hear, because of different businesses that I'm in, or the University of Miami, there is concern that our habits are changing. And, you read in the newspaper that people are going to just shop online, or people are going to work from home and they're not, going to go to offices, or you can do telemedicine instead of in person. And I really think this, COVID situation has accelerated a lot of virtual experiences that otherwise wouldn't have been accelerated. But the virtual experiences are going to enhance our lives, I hope, and give us more time. So, for example, I've never done a telemedicine appointment until recently.
I know,
right?
it's very
And
strange.
It's great, but you can do, the first appointment I could do virtually. The second appointment, he told me I needed to have an MRI. You can't do that virtually,
No,
right? So you've
no.
got to go in for the MRI. And if you have to do any sort of like physical therapy, some of it you can do virtually, but it's much, it's not something that I think we're going to be doing that long term, virtually. So I just feel that education, for example, if you look at some, my children, they're doing some of their education virtually, and they're doing some of it in person. But there is human experience, and there is, I think human beings are social creatures, where there's a big difference between being in a virtual class or having a virtual doctor's appointment or having an in-person. It's the same thing with shopping. So yes, there is some shopping that we're going to be doing virtually, but there's something about the socialization and people wanting to be out and people wanting, it's not just about, in my opinion, it's not just about touching product and seeing product. It's also about a salesperson having a social event, going with a friend and going shopping. If you look at Starbucks and you look at the experience of Starbucks, I mean, a lot of people go to Starbucks and they just drink plain brewed coffee, which they could make at home.
Mm-hmm.
Machines are so advanced
It's
nowadays. You can push it. It's about socialization.
Right.
And people want to sit. You go into a Starbucks or you go into a coffee shop, people are sitting in the coffee shop with their laptops. Like, instead of working at their tables at home, people want to be in environments
Yes.
where they can see other people
But
and
you
be around other
created,
people.
like, you have the mall, whatever time it opens, let's say on a Sunday, you open it earlier for people to walk.
Right,
As an example, it's an exercise
Right.
circle almost within the air conditioning.
right.
I mean, you've become part of the community. You're just not a mall. I mean, you are a partner of the city. You are the city. You're the focal point of the city. And people enjoy going there, as you said. I think that one of the things we have a problem with on the island is we're fortunate because we have 75, 80 acres here. So people can walk around, they go to a restaurant, they go to play tennis, and they never leave the island. But at some point, people, they feel stir crazy. They want to get out. It's cabin fever.
Right.
And they go to a mall, whether they're going to buy or not, it's an instant gratification of the socialization. It's getting out in an atmosphere where you see people, you talk to somebody, and you can still social distance.
Right.
And that's an amazing thing. So, I mean, I can't even imagine what it must have been like to have the mall, and one day you're open, the next day you have to close an entire mall. I mean, that's got to be a very frightening experience to go through, not knowing when you're opening.
Well, it was, I think COVID in general was a frightening experience. What was strange was being in the mall when it was closed.
I know, that had to be.
Nobody's there. I mean, my kids wanted to go roller skating through there, 'cause it's like, but yeah, it was a strange, it was a strange time. But I think none of us really looked at it as a doomsday situation. We really knew that. I mean, I believe in our scientists, and I saw this as a world problem, and it's almost like, there was a gold rush. Whoever was going to find the vaccination first was going to be very successful financially. So there was so much energy put into trying to find a cure, so we no longer have to live our lives this way.
And it's amazing how fast they did get it.
Right.
I mean,
Because it's also a worldwide problem.
That's right.
It's not
Exactly.
it's not one
It's true.
country, one state, one city. It's a worldwide problem. So.
Well, I know you're busy, and I'm thrilled that you could be here with us. I think the most important message is the mall is open, the stores are open. On occasion, once in a while, they won't be. The restaurants are all open.
Well, I would say, most of the stores are always open. I would say if you walk through the mall, I mean, you will see, some stores that are in transition that we're changing out, or Apple, as an example, is not open. But for the most part, I would say, 90-something% of our stores are open every single day. And on weekends, we do events. We do farmers market. We have a farmers market every Saturday, every Sunday. We have a community of the same vendors that come every weekend. And it's nice. I think there's something about a face when you purchase something, having a face to a product. So buying bread from your baker or buying fruit from your farmer or cakes, and it runs a gamut what we do at the farmers market.
Well, is there any way that people can, you have a website, of course.
Of course.
I'd like to have it linked to our site because so many people are asking what the hours are, when they can go, because they're coming down here. They haven't been here for 8-10 months now, or they're coming in from out of the country.
Right.
And it's truly become the number one question about what is available. So I assume you update that, and that's pretty...
We do.
Yeah, so that would be great. So we'll get a hold of Stephanie. If you could give us the links, we'd gladly add it to the site here because people ask those questions and they would love to come to see it. But, it's interesting because I know you and I know your family very well. And it was funny, I was just with your dad not too long ago. But it's not just someone that has built product in a city. You're part of the city. Your whole family is. And I think that's really what's more beautiful about this. As big as the mall is, as big as Turnberry is, as big as all these office buildings are, the condominiums, it's family. And that, I think, is what you've portrayed, and you've made everyone feel that way about everything your family and you have done. And I think that's it. I mean, I think that's the key to it. You go to the mall, you feel it's your mall.
Right. We try to be a contributor to the community. Like, that's important to us.
Very, and
so
you
whether
succeeded.
it's doing, the playgrounds that we do, or doing, installing all of the artwork that we put in. I mean, when we did the art program at the mall, we realized, I was approached by Norman Brayman, and he told me, listen, most people don't take the time to go to museums. The attendance at museums is not anywhere near the attendance of the volume that you have in the property. And you have a duty to our community to expose them to culture and to art. And so it's in your best interest and in the community's best interest for you to bring art to the people. So whether they appreciate it or not, they're going to experience it. So, we started with a small program, but we ended up, we have art by Louise Bourgeois, we have the slide by Karsten Haller, we have the gorilla installation, we have Robert Indiana's Love, that was actually, his original that came from his estate, the Love sculpture, which is outside Tap 42.
Sure.
And so all of that, and from my perspective, was contributing to the community. So, it's important. And I think even doing just any community event. We love to do community events. We want to be a part of the community, whether it's charity or art or farmers markets. It's all important.
Well, I'll divulge a little secret that, when the city was building the new high school, Jackie donated, it's not important how much, but made a beautiful donation to the school to enhance it and make sure it had everything it needed. But she didn't do it in her name, she did it in honor of her father's name. And that's why it's called the Don Soffer High School, because of all the hard work that Jackie acknowledged her dad has done over the years. And now we have a new train station coming to Aventura, and the mall has agreed to be part of a very expansive piece where we're going to have walkovers to the station that will come back into the mall. There'll be office buildings there that were attached to it. They were instrumental in Aventura Turnberry Jewish Center being built in the community. So what you have done in this city it goes far and above anything most people have done. So when you talk about community, you have accomplished that and much more. So, we can't thank you enough for what you've done for the city, but what you've done for the residents, because we're small but mighty. We have 48,000 people that live in Aventura, and no matter where you go, you know everybody. And primarily, they can't not go to something you have contributed and become part of our community with. And to that's magical, and that's something that's a beautiful legacy to have. So,
thank you.
I just can't tell you enough how much we appreciate you being here. We look forward to it. I look forward to working with you for many years with the city, and only the best in regards to your family. Stay safe. And again, thank you all for listening, because I thought it would be such a treat to have Jackie come and let you know that the mall is alive and doing well, and it is open along with the restaurants. And go to the mall, enjoy it.
And wear your mask.
And wear a
But
mask.
you have to wear a mask.
Absolutely. And especially with what's going on right now, safety is probably the most important thing that we can all look for. Jackie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.